Welcome back to Paper Highlighter. Today we're diving into the story of Greg Chillak from 90 Day Fiancé, how he managed to raise the $3,000 dowry for his wife Joan Kruchov, despite all the challenges they faced. Let's find out how Greg's determination and family dynamics played a huge role in this journey. Greg Chillak from 90 Day Fiancé has surprised fans by managing to raise the funds needed for Joan Kruchov's hefty dowry. Living in Long Island, New York, with his mother Lucille, Greg welcomed Joan after her move from Ghana. While his ultimate goal is to open his own bakery, he has been working as a plumber to save up money. Greg is eager to move out and start a new life with Joan as soon as possible. Despite facing financial challenges and family pressure, his determination made what once seemed impossible a reality. Joan encouraged Greg to keep working hard so they could eventually have a place of their own. However, she appeared somewhat unappreciative toward Lucille, who had kindly offered them a home. Joan made unnecessary remarks suggesting Lucille should spend less time at the house to give the couple more privacy. These comments clearly hurt Lucille, who had been doing her best to support them. Despite the tension, Lucille went out of her way to do something special to bring happiness to both Greg and Joan, demonstrating grace amid the difficulties. Joan's absurd dowry request explained, "Greg is clearly facing financial difficulties, and his unemployment only adds to the pressure. Currently living with his mother without contributing to rent, he now also has to cover the costs of the wedding, Joan's dress, and various cultural traditions." Joan recently received a call from her family asking about Greg. She described him as mostly great, but admitted feeling a little frustrated at times. Later, Joan and Greg had a serious talk about the dowry. Greg was taken aback and questioned how he was supposed to afford 15 cows, a traditional dowry amount in Joan's culture. Joan explained firmly that paying a dowry, often equivalent to 15 cows, is a cultural expectation. She acknowledged Greg's financial struggles, noting he couldn't meet this obligation because he didn't have a job. Frustrated, Greg argued it was unfair for him to bear all the costs, especially given his situation. Joan dismissed his concerns, insisting, "Culture is culture." The conversation grew tense as they faced the reality of Greg's unemployment. Many fans expressed that Greg should have thought more about these cultural expectations before bringing Joan to the United States. Greg reveals he's paid off Joan's dowry. In episode 15, Greg planned a special surprise for Joan. He revealed that he had paid off the dowry, clearing the way for their wedding. He even joked about showing up in a cow costume to catch Joan off guard. Greg explained that Joan had been asking him daily about the dowry and whether he had managed to pay it. The dowry, he said, involved 15 cows priced at $200 each, totaling $3,000. "Fortunately, my mom and dad paid for the wedding." Greg shared that his parents had generously agreed to cover the wedding expenses, which eased his financial burden significantly. This support allowed him to use his savings to pay Joan's bride price. Greg felt a huge weight lifted from his shoulders and was thrilled they could finally gain Joan's family's blessing and start their married life on the right foot. When Greg told Joan he had paid the dowry, she was initially stunned, but soon broke into a wide smile. Joan expressed how proud she was of him. In her culture, the dowry is usually set by the father, and Joan's late father had already decided her dowry before he passed away. By paying it, Greg had shown deep respect for Joan's culture, her family, and her father's last wishes. Joan appreciated Greg's gesture and felt grateful for what he had done. Joan's money demands could keep increasing. Joan had initially planned to save money by hosting the wedding at home instead of booking a venue. However, Lucille surprised them by taking Joan and Greg to visit a venue offering a full wedding package, including an open bar and food, for $8,900. She explained that she wanted her son to have the experience of a lifetime. Lucille suggested Greg contribute just $1,000, while she and Greg's father, her ex-husband, would cover the remaining costs. "You know that's what families do, they give," she told Greg and Joan. Lucille's generous offer seemed to relieve some of the couple's financial stress and brought renewed excitement to the 90 Day Fiancé wedding planning. But with Lucille and Greg's father now openly willing to help, Joan might have started wondering if Greg could also ask them for assistance in renting an apartment in New York City. Joan expressed sincere gratitude toward Greg's parents and appeared hopeful about building a future together outside of Lucille's home. However, in the very next episode, tensions flared when Lucille prevented Joan from seeing her own wedding dress, adding new strain to the couple's journey.